guru to show me the way. Send me a guru every day. Get me back on track when I go astray. Enlighten me with your wisdom today. It might get weird, but that's alright. We're all just gurus helping each other through the night. Right here on Everyday Gurus. Everyday Gurus. Wake up, don't hit the snooze. You might miss Everyday Gurus. Everyday Gurus. Everyday Gurus. Wake up, don't hit the snooze. You might miss Everyday Gurus.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Everyday Gurus. My name is Patrick Ecstatic. So good to be back on the air, and I'm really excited for today's interview because it's a longtime friend of mine who's had a great impact on my spiritual journey, and she's really a role model for what's possible for human transformation. And I want to let her introduce herself a little bit more, but we have Regina Verdico on the show today. And Regina, thank you so much for coming on. Really great to have you here.
It's great to be here. I just feel goosebumps and spirit bumps all over about hanging with you in this space and getting to chat about our friendship and our transformations together.
Yes, I'm excited too. Can you just give us like a quick once over of like what you're about and where you're at currently and how you got here?
Yeah, what I'm about. Well, there's a loaded question, but I'm really about devotion to my spiritual path and my mind, just paying attention to my mind and how I show up in this world and my projections. And in all that, I get to be a retreat leader. I facilitate retreats all over the world right now. And I also get to hone in on my marketing skills that I've had for a really long time and help others bring their voice to life on social media in a really authentic way. And I teach yoga and I facilitate lots of workshops around tuning into our intuition and living from the heart and listening to that inner voice and taking our next best step. So I have a brand, it's called Conscious Connector. Somebody gave that name to me when I was working in a marketing agency and it just kind of stuck.
Nice.
So that's what my Instagram is, and kind of the umbrella of all the work that I do is under that Conscious Connector.
Awesome. Yeah, I've got that on one of my t-shirts from a retreat that I attended. So I think it's very catchy. I'm glad you've stuck with it. And it's very true to who you are and what you do. You connect people to their deeper consciousness and connect people with each other through these retreats. And I've experienced that firsthand. And it's been a huge impact on my journey. The retreat that I did with you back in 2020 in the thick of COVID was one of the most transformational experiences of my life. It was when I had just like gotten off medication and I was kind of like not centered, and it was in the thick of COVID. And the title of the retreat was "Okay, Now What?" And that was so fitting and so appropriate for where I was at in my journey. Like, where do I go from here? Like, can I do this? Like, can I live an organic life like without meds? And where do we go with this freaking pandemic that's going on in the world? And it just felt like a safe bubble. Like we were just safe from all the chaos that was going on in the world. And you led it with a corporate guy who had a unique style of teaching people their core values, which is what he tried to come up with companies to decide on their core values. And I've done that exercise a couple times, and that painting behind me kind of reflects some of the core values that I've come up with. But it's a really cool exercise that you took us through, where you had us illustrate basically on a canvas like 4 or 5 things that we really stand for. So that's been a huge impact on my journey. Can you talk about like a little bit about the collaboration process that you and Will had in that retreat, and what it was like leading that?
Yeah, yeah. So I will add in, Will and I were partners. We were,
Hmm.
in relationship. So I think that actually played into, the collaboration of it because we were both just in our hearts with the work that we wanted to do in the world. So Will really brought the core values in, and I kind of brought in the place where we really tune into listening to what's within us.
Hmm.
Because a lot of times in corporate, it's very much about what's external. And for me, to the core of my being that it really comes from a deep place within. And we brought those two worlds together through our different practices. And I think
Beautiful.
really where the magic was is that we were two people collaborating from our heart's desires. And it was just a great space, and I love the name of it. Okay, now what?
Yeah.
Like this COVID thing just happened, and what the heck are all of us doing with our lives? So it was a great pause to take
Oh
together.
yeah. Yeah, it was amazing. So thank you so much for that because I still look back at it as one of the turning points, one of the transitions of my entire life. And it was like kind of a launching off point, and it had it all, it had everything I needed. It had like goal setting, it had like finding my core values. And like you said, it had that balance of the external and the internal, which I feel like that's what this journey is all about is finding that balance, how to navigate the external while still recognizing that everything is really a reflection of the internal world. So, and that's where it all starts.
Yeah, you couldn't have said it better. That's the perfection in all of it. It's really recognizing that our external world is coming from someplace inside of ourselves. So to get still and listen to what wants to come forward it's the magic. It's kind of the reason, I know we're going to get to that, but it's how I was able to start walking out of corporate America.
All
So
right, yeah, yeah. Let's get to that. That was my next question. So you had mentioned like you had done marketing a lot in your life. So yeah, I know you used to do that at the corporate level, and now you're able to do it at the level of spirituality and consciously market yourself as kind of an entrepreneur. So tell us a little bit about the transition from being able to walk away from corporate America in the marketing field to applying it now to your life as a spiritual leader.
that this is one of my favorite transitions in life, although at the time I may not have said that because it was really hard.
Mm,
And the only reason it was hard is because I was afraid I wasn't going to be able to do it, so there was fear in there. But, um, it was 17 years ago, and I was working my first corporate marketing job. And all I knew is I wasn't going to do this forever. And I don't know, it was so strong in me. And it was frustrating because I thought it should be now that it should be happening, and I shouldn't have been
mhm.
where I was, which is actually the point of all suffering is thinking that we shouldn't be where we're at. So,
Exactly.
yeah. So there was a lot of suffering for me because I believed that I shouldn't be there, that I should be someplace else. But what I didn't know is that all of it was working together for my highest good. And I kept moving forward and I discovered A Course in Miracles and started to do the internal work. Because prior to that, I didn't have a sense of any of that. I wasn't meditating. It was right. 30 was this point in my life where all of this spirituality started to really come in.
And just to clarify, A Course in Miracles, is that like a book or a course or what is
Oh,
that?
A Course in Miracles is a study of love and fear.
Okay.
And takes you to, it helps you to understand that your external world is all a result of what is within your mind.
Hmm.
That our salvation, our peace lies within us, that we don't have to be disturbed by the outside world. It's a tough course, but there's so much simplicity in it. And again, the ego makes it very complicated, but it's
Uh-huh.
not that complicated. So that study combined with meditation and just continuing to walk forward. I do feel like this other piece is somewhat important. I also
Sure.
discovered inner child healing
Oh yeah.
in that time. And it was, again, that deepened my connection to myself by understanding this inner child that is within all of us. So
Mm-hmm.
with her was really important. And then it just kind of fast forward 10 years. Was working really hard. I was in the biggest role of my life in corporate, and I had saved up money in my account. And I'm like, something in me just knew it was time to go. And my mom is the one who sat with me and she said, "Why don't you do it? Why don't you quit your job?" And I was like,
Nice.
my eyes are like, I'm actually, they were filled with tears and bugging my head at the same time. Like, I can't believe my mom's telling me this.
Yeah.
Because usually it's, you got to have another job before you leave the next one. But I had
Uh-huh.
money in my savings account, and I had to reframe what a savings account was for, because it's like, you have money. So in case you lose your job, you have things, um, money to live on. And for this point, I was like, this money is for me to live on until I figure it out. And if I don't figure it out, I can go back because I'm still really good at my job.
Yeah, there you go.
So, so I did. I gave 90-day notice,
Oh, wow.
and I gave myself 3 months to really get ready. And I feel like the universe supported me in that 90 days. I tried to turn back a couple times and it did not work. As a matter of fact, my role at the company got eliminated
Oh,
on the
geez.
day. On the day I was walking out that door, my job had totally switched. I wasn't going to lose it, but it was completely not what I had signed up for.
Oh, wow.
And I went on my way, and I was like, I'm gonna do this. And
That's
I did. Here
fascinating.
I am 7 years later. There's so much, detail on the in between, but
Uh-huh.
keep it at that level for now. And if you want to go further into it, we can. But the one thing I would say is, had I done it any earlier than the 10 years it took me, I'm not so sure I would have been successful, because I really wasn't ready. My
Yeah.
mind was not ready to step out into the world without having that perceived safety net. I had
Yeah.
to really work my mind to prepare to be able to do it.
Yeah, that's important to say for anyone who's considering like making that leap, you know? Like it sounds like you were kind of in tune and like called to do it. I mean, obviously no one's ever going to be 100% ready. You know, there's always going to be fear and resistance and stuff, but it sounds like you were able to really tune into your heart and somebody close to your heart like your mom to kind of give you that extra push, and the timing just aligned perfectly. And then that synchronicity of the door closing behind you, you know, like your position no longer exists. Like,
Yeah.
was it ever really here at all? You know, like this is your true purpose, Regina, and the path was just kind of laid out before you. So that's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah. It was a joyful and fearful and one of the most fun times of my life so far.
Lovely. Well, you've blossomed into, well, number one, an amazing yoga teacher. I took several of your classes back at the old Twisted Tree studio in Des Plaines, Illinois, which no longer exists. But you're an amazing teacher. That room was always full for every one of your classes, which is a testament of how amazing you are as a yoga teacher. So let's start there as kind of your spiritual leadership evolution. Was that kind of the starting point, teaching yoga?
Yeah, it really was. Part of that last kind of kick out, like the universe kind of kicking me out of corporate, was I had gotten my yoga certification, and I was known as the yoga girl at work. And then I was asked to teach yoga at our company conference, and I had never taught a yoga class. Like, I had no intention of becoming a yoga teacher. I just wanted the depth that
Hmm.
for my own practice.
Yeah.
And I taught this yoga class at my at this conference, and the CEO forgot his shoes that day. He ended up coming to my class. I was like, oh my God, he's here. And then he got up on the podium to give the opening remarks. And the first thing out of his mouth was, "I took Regina's yoga class today."
In front of how many people?
In front of like over 2,000 people.
That's
And
great.
and he said, "I'm feeling really limber." And then halfway through the speech, he said, out of nowhere, I think everybody should take Regina's yoga class tomorrow. And then he said, because I think we're going to lose her to the yoga world.
Oh,
It was almost like he prophesized my life. Like he
wow.
made this announcement and this declaration on my behalf. And I did. Within the first year of leaving that job, I started teaching yoga. And it wasn't until the end of the year I decided I would sub some classes, and then I just started teaching nonstop. And what was interesting is, you don't, at that point, you're not making a lot of money as a yoga teacher. I don't know, still haven't figured out, like, I don't want to say that yoga teachers don't make a lot of money, but I would say that right now I haven't figured out a way to like blossom into a full-blown yoga teacher making all ends meet with that.
Hmm.
That being said, every little bit helps. And that's where I was like taking yoga or teaching yoga in any opportunity that I had. And everything was just kind of unfolding from there. Then I started teaching meditation.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And then I increased the number of training hours that I got. I got a 500-hour certification. And so it was just always taking the next best step towards what was feeling good for my life. And that's kind of started how it started to unfold.
Yeah, that whole next step thing, that's kind of been a philosophy of yours, and that you kind of taught that to me a little bit. Like when you can't do like the thing that you really want to do, like just do the next best thing, do the next best thing, even if it's just like go make yourself a nice meal or something. If you can't, go do what you really want to do. Like if you can't bring yourself to go to the gym, just go have a nice nourishing meal, do something that you enjoy, like do the next best thing that would maybe get you there a little bit later, but sometimes you just got to do the next best thing, one step at a time. And that's been a nice philosophy that you have shared with me. So thank you for that.
Yeah, that's actually part of the 12-step model.
Mm,
Is when you're in that place where you kind of feel like you don't know what to do,
yeah.
like you said, go make yourself a meal, go do the laundry.
Mm,
But you can even just, it doesn't have to be hard. There's a lot of simplicity in it. It's freeing up our energy so that we can flow and
yeah.
do, and really get into what the next best thing is. So it doesn't have to be hard. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think we want to fight ourselves on anything, because that divides us, that disperses our energy. Do something that we can do, I don't know if we're ever going to be 100%, on something, there's always seemingly a part of the mind that wants to go somewhere else. But, if you can do something at like 80%, 80-20, I feel like that 80-20 rule applies to a lot of things. But like, if you can put like 80% of your attention on something and do it like almost wholeheartedly, then I feel like you can flow into the next thing. And that's how we get into the flow of life, instead of having so much resistance and so much, wandering of the mind that keeps us caught up in either the past or the present. And then we miss our life. We're never present in the moment. We miss all the finer details that kind of give it that sweetness.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. It's the absolute truth. And the other piece of it that comes to mind is, well, there's two. One, when we kind of get out of our own way and we just take that next best step, oftentimes, the love of the universe will meet us where we're at. And sometimes it just becomes like, I don't have to do anything. It just showed up.
Yeah.
That's kind of the magic and the beauty of letting go and just stepping in. And then you said something else and I had something that came in, but I'm going to let it go because I don't remember at this moment. But that part about really, there's an allowance that happens, and we don't always have to work as hard as we think we do for things to come into our lives. So I think that's really helpful, to not having that striving, because that's corporate, and striving doesn't have to be part of our life.
Absolutely. Yeah, you mentioned we don't always have to work as hard as we do, and that triggered something. Another kind of common thread that we share together is, Deepak Chopra's book, the Law of Spiritual Success. And that kind
Mhm.
of made me think of the law of least effort, which has really helped me on my journey. For anyone who doesn't know the book, it's a beautiful book that everybody should own. A little small, like pocket. You can hold it in your pocket, your back pocket. It only takes an hour to read. And we've had the joy of sharing some of the lessons from that book together in like a book study in our
Mhm.
small group of friends called the Originals, which has just been a phenomenal impact. Shout out to the Originals if they're watching this, Joanne, Bob, Carney, and some of the old Originals that don't really come around anymore, but we still love you, like Eric and Anna and Gabby. Yeah, so I think that's all of them. Did I miss anybody?
No, no,
No.
that's everybody I actually saw Gabby recently. So
Oh, nice.
yeah, yes, it was kind of magical.
Yeah, so anything you want to say about that book or any particular laws that stand out to you that have impacted your journey?
Well, all of them have, but the law of, is it the law of infinite possibility? Is that how it's framed?
I think so. Yeah, that pretty much sums up the sentiments.
The sentiment of it, yeah, and
Yeah.
it's really just planting our seeds of intention. And what I've also learned is that our intentions come from a feeling place, not necessarily the form.
Hmm.
And when you get into the essence of what it is that you want to create in your life and just kind of like plant those seeds, the universe in its infinite possibilities will grow you the best possible scenario. So not to become attached to one form or idea, but to feel into the essence of what it is. And you can use a past experience. Like, I remember being at a yoga festival and I was like, oh my God, like, this is my life. This is the essence. And it wasn't about being at a yoga festival for the rest of my life, although at the time I thought that's what I wanted. But it was the essence of freedom, and it was the essence of being in my body and being in nature. So those were kind of the feeling words of it. And honestly, when I really think about that, my life is a yoga festival because I get to teach yoga, be in my body, take walks when, with intention, and not have to, my schedule's much more open. And that was the other part of it, that freedom. So,
Yes.
if I look back, now I can say in the law of infinite possibility, letting go of like living a yoga festival, I'm living my yoga festival in some way, shape, or form. And it's the essence that I brought in through planting the seeds.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, it starts with feeling into it, actually feeling it, and then the external world starts to reflect that. So that's amazing that is actually a reality for you. Because when you hear it, and I did think of the formal name of that law. It's actually called the law of pure potentiality.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, so infinite possibilities, pure potentiality means the exact same thing, but in the book it's called Law of Pure Potentiality. And it's so true. We live in even science has started to support all this spiritual mumbo jumbo, like all quantum physics says that basically everything is a quantum wave, just waiting for somebody to take the action necessary to bring it into physical reality. So everything exists like somewhere in the quantum field as pure potentiality. And all we have to do is feel what it would be like for that to be real, and the entire universe starts to conspire to make it manifest in the physical world. And it's just the truth of our existence.
Yeah, I've never put that together about like life feeling like a yoga festival. And it makes me think of the movie The Secret. I saw that was kind of another introduction to spirituality. And I love that movie because it really shows us our possibilities in life. And the one thing that for me that was a miss in that movie is the blocks that we have in our own mind to actually being able to see the pure potentiality in our life. Like, if we're holding on to resentment or grievance or haven't forgiven something, that's gonna shade your life and shadow life so that we can't really experience that essence that we want to call in.
Absolutely.
I also want to say, don't make it good or bad. Like if you're in that place of grievance and resentment, be really easy on yourself, because we can also use that to be incredibly mean to ourselves and think that we're not, I don't know what just not good enough. Like we can use it to harm our self-worth.
Yeah, that can be a downward spiral when we start beating ourselves up.
But it's a recognition that, oh, maybe there's something that I'm holding on to that is not allowing me to see all that is here and all that is coming. So just awareness around that, because that was a misstep for me in all of it until I started studying A Course in Miracles, which says that our salvation lies in forgiveness and letting go of our resentments and our grievances. And it starts with me. So it's up to me to look at myself.
Yeah, thank you for that. You brought up a great topic of forgiveness, and something that I still kind of struggle with sometimes, because it really starts with forgiving ourselves. Would you say, like, releasing all the emotions surrounding any sort of conflict with another person? And once we kind of process that emotions, whether it's through meditation or movement or yoga or something like that, or sharing with somebody that you trust, is also helpful in bringing it to light. But tell me about your forgiveness process and how it's evolved over the years.
Oof, that's a great question. So the course teaches me that what I believe happened didn't really happen the way that I think that it happened. And my experience in that is, I'll give an example. My mom and I were in great conflict with one another. She had one way of thinking about how things happen when we were kids, and I had another way of holding on to it.
Sure.
And we both thought we were right. We were both in turmoil and just struggling. And neither one of us could hear the other person, because we were so sure that I was right and then she thought she was right. So this crash. Classic case, right? And then, so I've referenced 12-step. I chose to step into a 12-step program, which is Adult Children of Alcoholics, ACOA.
Okay.
It's been really healing for me. I don't need to go into all that, but it's just.
So you weren't an alcoholic? It was one of your parents?
Well, I wouldn't even say that it was one of my parents, because alcoholism runs in the family. It's a family disease. And so it just runs through the veins, no matter if they're drinking or not. So no, I would not state that about my parents, but alcoholism runs rampant in my my lineage.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So it gets passed on. And
so that was like you proactively being able to deal with that before it like potentially took you over, or
well, I never drank.
somebody.
I never
drank.
I never was like I never had a problem with drinking, but I had. This is like a whole other podcast, but I'll just say this to keep it really simple. When you're raised in family dysfunction that kind of is a result of alcoholism, you develop these character traits, and oftentimes the character traits are I would consider myself the codependent, trying to caretake amongst all the family dysfunction that nobody's acknowledging. So what ACOA does is, one, it helps you to see what your part is and what was going on, because it's usually swept under the carpet and we just keep passing it on and passing it on and passing it on to our families. So it's kind of, the buck stops there. You get to look, you get to take responsibility for yourself, and you get to heal your emotions. It's kind of emotional sobriety.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And if anybody's struggling with that at all, I would encourage you to look up the foundation of ACOA. Just Google it. You'll find it. There's character traits. It's been incredibly healing for me. I've been in it a year and a half. So going back to this eruption that was happening between my mom and I, we had the opportunity to sit together and really hear where each other was coming from.
Mm-hmm.
And in doing that, I could really see that she wasn't wrong. And I could also see that I wasn't wrong. We were just two people having completely different experiences because of what was in our own minds. And you don't always need to have the one-on-one conversation with another person. It's just even inserting the possibility that that person is having a completely different experience than you are around the whole situation. And that's why they say forgiveness is knowing that what you believed happened didn't really happen, because everybody's having a different experience and coming from a different place.
I
And
see.
there's more to it. I'm really giving like a very surface level around it.
Mm-hmm.
It freed me. And the freedom came because my mom and I both acknowledged each other. I had that opportunity to be acknowledged by her, and she had the opportunity to be acknowledged by me. But in either case, it's my responsibility to take care of my grievances and resentments, because if not, I'm going to live with the blindfolds on and not be able to see the infinite love of God, of universe. And I just found that that has been a huge turning point for me in my existence. And it's a responsible one, in my opinion. And it's not always easy, because it means putting down the swords and in Course in Miracles, they call them the sharp edge tools that we've been carrying on with ourselves,
Yeah.
and really letting things go. And we don't want to, they kept
Oh
us,
no.
they,
Those make us real.
they make,
Those give the ego strength.
yes, 100%. It's very scary for the ego to put those things down, but
Yeah.
there's lots of safe ways to be able to do that. And I'm finding that the ACOA program is another container for people to put those things down if they're willing. Some people want to carry around their body bag until the day they die. I don't want to do that. It's not serving me, but it's still sometimes in the corner. I recognize
Aho.
that's an
Well,
iguana, but sometimes the body
that's a
bag's
different
still there
species.
a little bit.
The metaphorical corner, the
That's
body bag
right.
in the other corner.
Yeah.
Speaking of reptiles, no, I don't actually have anything to say about reptiles, but I usually like to segue that smoothly. But
Yes.
speaking of our reptilian brains,
Well done. Well done.
hold your applause, hold your applause. I was just reflecting kind of on the impact that you've had on me personally as a friend, and just wanted to bring my gratitude to light, because I haven't really shared this with a lot of people, but I was very indecisive 3 years ago in my recent move to the Phoenix area. I'm originally from the suburbs of Chicago, which is where I met Regina. And I was super indecisive about moving down to Phoenix because there was so much fear in the mind, and logically there were a lot of reasons not to go, financially, family, I had to break an apartment lease. So it was a really hard decision. Logically, it didn't make a lot of sense. But my heart was telling me to go for it. Like there's something down there for you. You're ready for this change. And it was classic head versus heart battle. And it got so intense, like I was so split in half, like it got kind of nasty inside. So I needed some external support, and you were one of the key people to support me through that. So I just want to say thank you so much for helping me. You didn't try to persuade me to go one way or the other, but you did a really good job of like guiding me through like what do I really want in my heart, like asking open-ended questions and helping to get to the bottom of that. So thank you.
Yeah, it was really beautiful to witness you, and to even like see the continuation of it unfolding. And again, just like starting out with spirit bumps and being here again with them, seeing you step into Arizona and embrace, it wasn't easy. I will say that. It wasn't like you did it and it was like, la la la, here it
Yeah.
all is. It was, there's still the stuff. There's still the
Yeah.
stuff that we're going to work through. But you navigated it so beautifully. And every time I see your posts and what you're doing and stepping into teaching, it just makes my heart just flutter open because you're another example of doing the work, internal work, taking the steps forward and living your life the best way that you possibly can. And I'm so grateful to witness it.
Thank you. Thank you so much for putting up with me and being a huge part of my life. I can't really think of any individual who has had a better impact on my life than you and who has been as good of a friend as you. So thank you so much for being there in some critical times and just being a beautiful blessing in my life.
Of course, it's easy to be your friend, Patrick.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Likewise. So another thing I wanted to talk about, another time where you were there for me in a critical time, was when I was between jobs, and this was kind of like leading up to the move to Arizona, and you held a retreat with friends, and it seemed like more of a women's only type vibe, which a lot of women hold these women's only retreats. But you did a beautiful thing and opened it up as well to men, and which gave me the opportunity to attend that retreat. And so that was a hugely impactful retreat on me being able to like feel supported, surrounded by all these lovely women who were supportive and helpful. And one of my good friends, who I referenced earlier, Bob, was also there. So we had a couple men present. And I feel like that retreat just flowed beautifully and like had a really nice balance of masculine energy and feminine energy. So can you speak a little bit about that retreat in particular as what and kind of lead into like what you're doing now with retreats?
Yeah, I love that you're bringing up the invitation for men to be there.
Yeah.
First, I would address, just say, a lot of times these women's retreats are created and men are invited because there's this idea of needing a safe container for women to really express.
Hmm.
And then there's the other side of the coin is these men like you, conscious men who come into these retreat spaces where oftentimes they're more dominant with the women, the presence of women, but to have men like you come in and really you bring a different energy, and it's nice for women to be able to know that they can express themselves fully with the presence of a man, that these ideas around men, oh, they're not conscious. I mean, there's lots of stories that people have, and
Hmm.
I feel like it's healing for me. I have my own experience with male energy, father who stopped parenting when I was 14, lots of rotation of men coming in and out of my home when I was a kid. I didn't like it. Like I'm like, ew, get these people away from me.
Yeah.
Now it's like, no, bring them in, bring them closer. Like it's so healing to
Hmm.
have the presence of men for both. For both, I think it's not like either or, it's both and that's why the containers are becoming open to both. And we do have a retreat coming up in August where we're going to Taos, New Mexico, and the guidance has been to invite men into that. It'll be,
Sweet.
yeah, it's going to be a really beautiful balance of the masculine and feminine. And it's called Full of Grace. And we're going to go to an ashram, which is with an ashram that honors Neem Karoli Baba and the Hanuman deity. So,
Awesome.
yeah,
Love
just
Hanuman.
you do?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's my guy.
oh, I was gonna say that's Buddha behind you.
Yeah,
I thought,
I've got Hanuman over there, so he's hanging on the other wall. Yeah.
oh wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why we did another retreat in France where there was a handful of men, a small handful. And oh my gosh, what we did to honor the masculine energy was kind of recreated this idea of the way that Mary Magdalene anointed Jesus's feet.
Hmm.
We anointed the feet of the men, and then we invited the women to come in and express gratitude for their presence at this retreat, because we were actually
Wow.
in the lands of Mary Magdalene. That's what the south of France, that's why we bring people there, is because Mary Magdalene was an evangelist for Jesus after he was crucified. And she's kind of having a renaissance. Like, this is an uprising of Mary Magdalene, and she just represents this beautiful balance of the masculine and feminine.
Hmm.
And we were guided to invite men, and they were, we released these tears because we're healing, and there was just so much love in the room. And for both the men and the women, for the women to be able to just say, like, how often we forget to say thank you to our partners, or thank you to the masculine energy, and vice versa. Like, where have we gone? We're too busy pissed off at it, or thinking like
Yeah.
we should be doing that, like our laundry list,
Yeah. The judgments. Yeah. They can
judgments,
get in
all
the
that
way. Yeah.
beautiful, yeah, all the stuff we're working through.
Yeah.
So that's has a lot to do with why we're really open to bringing men into our retreats, because that's what happens. Miracles happen, and healing happens, and love just expands. So
Yeah,
yeah.
that's awesome. I've been at so many events where I've been like the only guy there, because for whatever reason, spirituality tends to be like there's just more women involved in it. I don't know, men are supposed to be out chopping wood or lifting weights or whatever. I don't know. We still live in these stereotypes. I mean, but I'm just like an artsy, like spiritual guy. I'm a little bit softer than most men. Um, and so I find myself being the only man at a lot of these spiritual events. And every time I've been told so many times, thank you so much for being here. You really like helped reflect something I needed to see with that masculine energy or something like that. But the women are always so grateful. And I always say, like, I feel like I'm surrounded by angels, like all these women on my journey have just been angels. Like, you've been just an angel, so it's a blessing for me. And like, I just want to inspire more men to like walk the spiritual path, because I feel like I'm hogging it myself, like I'm surrounded by beautiful women who are like supporting me emotionally. And like, it's like I'm so blessed and have experienced so much transformation and deep connection with all these beautiful women who are just like so wise and so nurturing and so loving. So I just want to inspire more men to like just go out in meditation circles, go out, do some spiritual work. It's like, it's really healing as well as fun. And yeah, you are surrounded by beautiful women who will help you on your journey, so it's really a beautiful path.
Yes. Have you ever thought about holding men's circles and then gently inviting some women into them when they're ready?
I love that idea. I love
I could
that.
totally see you doing it. I think you'd
Yeah.
be the perfect person to start, bringing these men together.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for that suggestion.
Yeah. Yes. So,
Well, it's been lovely talking to you and catching up a little bit. Um, you've been
yeah.
an awesome guest on the show. So anything else you'd like to say before we wrap?
Um, I do want to I referenced the New Mexico retreat, Full of Grace. That is under this company called the Sacred Travel Company that I have with a friend in
Okay.
Ireland. So I just wanted to differentiate that and give a shout out to the Sacred Travel Company.
Okay. Great.
And also just gratitude for having this conversation today. Everything happens for a reason, and everything comes into your life at the perfect time.
Mm.
And just being with you in this energy is exactly what I needed. It's so on point with the thoughts that I have been working through in my own mind around masculine and feminine energy, and just where I'm at. So if I could come through this Zoom and give you a huge hug, I would. Like, that's what I want to do. And I just appreciate you and love you so much. And and the growth that has happened in the last few years since you moved to Arizona, and my own growth, it's like we're just not the same people that we were before,
Yeah.
and there's so
Yeah.
much change, and I just witness you. I witness you in your growth and your transformation. And I just continue to pray for others to really be able to step into their growth and transformation and to do it from inside first and not trying to
Yes.
navigate it through the world, because when you do it from your heart first and inside, it's just going to be a kinder, more elegant path for yourself.
Absolutely. Yes. And finding a community too, a spiritual based community that can support you
Yes.
is key. So even multiple communities, like I've had several, a yoga community, a meditation community, an ecstatic dance community, and all these communities really support me on my
Mhm.
journey. And I've met so many friends and people that I can trust through that. So thank you so much, Regina. And yeah, let's go ahead and do a virtual hug through the Zoom. So
Huge
so great
hug.
to have you on.
Thank you.
Much love and respect and gratitude for you as a friend, and admiration for all that you've done as a spiritual leader and will continue to do. So just keep blossoming and keep helping people on their own journeys. And thank you so much for being an awesome guest on Everyday Gurus.
Everyday Gurus. Big shout out to Everyday Gurus. I love it. Thank you. Infinite gratitude.
Absolutely. Talk to you again soon. Bye.
Okay, bye.
Everyday Gurus. When the path gets narrow and life seems tough, remind me I'm already enough. Even the boulders are part of my path, and help is available if I just ask. I need a guru to show me the way. Send me a guru every day. It might get weird, but that's alright. We're all just gurus helping each other through this life.